Here's the authentic Monster Venom BAF and the bootleg version. And I'm going to share with you 8 differences between them. The first two will be the most obvious to help you to spot the bootleg just by looking at pictures. And the rest of the differences will help you to spot the bootleg if you have the figure in hand. The bootleg comes with this alternate head with the tongue. I'm going to share with you more about this later on. And the first difference will be at the mouth. For the original, you can see the red paintwork between the bottom part of the teeth. But for the bootleg, the teeth at the bottom jaw are all white. There isn't any red parts unlike the one on the original. The original also has better sculpt, and you can see the individual sculpt of the teeth compared to the bootleg, where the sculpt of each teeth is less obvious. The difference in the paintwork of the teeth is quite obvious for you to spot in pictures. Second difference is that there is a line at the back of the thigh of the bootleg figure. Here's a closer look of the line. It is quite obvious on both sides of the thighs. There is no line at the back of the original figure. And also you can see an obvious gap at the swivel joint at the calf of the bootleg figure, especially on the left leg, unlike on the original whereby the swivel joint on the calf is really seamless and has no gap. Third difference is the printing of the spider logo on the figure. You can see the paintwork on the sides of the leg of the spider logo is kind of blurry. Same goes on the shoulder and also at the top of the arms. But for the bootleg version, the paintwork is really sharp. The edges are really crisp and you don't see those blurry effects unlike on the original. Here's the top of the arm side by side. You can see how sharp the edges are on the bootleg, but for the original version, it's kind of blurry. Another difference is that at the back of the spider logo of the bootleg, you can see the jagged edges at the bottom of it. Unlike my original, which doesn't have a clearly defined edges. I don't know whether this is the problem on just my original or this is a consistent thing for the original, but on the bootleg, it is sharply printed. You can see the jagged edges clearly. The next difference is that for the original, there isn't much gap around the arms on both sides. But for the bootleg version, you can see a very big visible gap around the arms on both sides of the figure. Not obvious if you're looking from the front view, but if you look at the side from a certain angle, you really can see the gap. Look at the difference in the gap at the top of the arms. Number 6 is the loose waist swivel on the bootleg. The waist swivel is really loose. Look at that. I can really spin it around. And the ab crunch is also slightly loose, but there is still a click and it does stay in place. But the waist swivel is really loose. The waist swivel is definitely tight and firm on the original. Same goes for the ab crunch. There is a click as well, but it is tighter than the ab crunch of the bootleg version. The embossed printing at the bottom of the feet are different. The top two are the original. The bottom two are the bootlegs. At the bottom of the original right foot is Marvel 2016 Hasbro SA, but at the bottom of the bootleg foot is nothing. You can kind of see like they try to emboss something over here, but there is ultimately nothing that is clearly seen at the bottom right foot of the bootleg figure. For the left feet, below the word made in China, there is some letters and numbers for the original foot, but at the bottom of the left bootleg foot, it is just made in China. It is missing the C001D. And the last difference which I want to share with you guys, which is the most obvious way to spot the original from the bootleg, but at the same time the most difficult way is by opening the back of the figure. This is the original, and over here you can see that this is rectangular, but for the bootleg version, you can also open it up. And over here is circular instead. On the original, it's rectangular. On the bootleg, it is circular. And also, on the original, you can easily pluck off the arms. But on the bootleg version, you cannot pluck out the arms. It's really not easy, and I don't want to risk breaking the arms. So yeah, it's difficult to take off the arms on the bootleg. On the original, it's easy. There. And as mentioned earlier, here is the alternate head. The tongue can be bent around and stays in place. It's kind of rubbery, and yeah. And it can be swapped with the original as well. Let me put it on the original. There, finally got it on, but it's actually quite difficult to try to put it in, but it does stay in place. It's easy to take off and put back on the head of the original, but the head of the bootleg, however, is slightly difficult to take off. But it is slightly easier to put this head on the bootleg body. There. So those are the differences and the ways to spot between the original and the bootleg Monster Venom BAF. The bootleg is actually quite decent in quality besides the loose waist swivel, and the alternate head with the long tongue is kind of a bonus. The price is kind of on the higher side, I think around $40 more or less. But you know, the original is really difficult to find and is way more pricey. Thanks for watching. I hope you'll be able to spot the differences between the original and the bootleg if you were to come across this Monster Venom figure in the secondary market. And do check out my other comparison videos at my channel.